It's round 10 here at the Masters Tour live from Las Vegas at the Link Hotel, and we have relegated Orange, and Darroch Brown is back. Darroch, man, we've had some good rounds to close out this day, some really close calls amongst some of the highest competition I think we've seen in quite some time in these big events.
We really have. I was just watching outside with the players, enjoying yours and John's casting, may I say.
Thank you.
Pretty exciting last game there with APX Void. I loved the way he was playing it, but from Bloody Face CN, getting himself very close out for lethal there. I think it was a very well-played series on both sides.
Yeah, took a risk and didn't end up paying off in that one with the coin Alec. But, you know, that's the call you got to make sometimes. Bought him a lot of damage, at the very least. We're jumping into Dog versus posesi, heading into game number 2 this one. Dog was not able to maintain his undefeated record. He dropped round number 9, and it moved him to an 8-1 match score. So still a pretty fantastic performance.
8-1.
He's down a game here to posesi, who has brought about the most stock-looking list that I can possibly imagine. And honestly, this is the one I like the most.
Yeah, I am also a fan of the lists that have a lot of 2-ofs as opposed to a lot of the 1-ofs. There's a reason they are, well, the 2-ofs, they're the more powerful cards in the deck. And I like the double Banana Buffoon, all that goodness I think is very, very on the money. His secondary and tertiary decks are a little bit interesting, specifically the tertiary deck that we see there. I think pretty much exclusively as an OTK Paladin counter I'm seeing with Hakar, the Soul Player, pretty much locking that out in addition to locking out anyone bringing Mechathun, were that to be a Wayward Mechathun warrior deck.
Yeah, it doesn't lock it out completely, but what it does is it always takes away their guarantee. And it's a miserable matchup, and I think in a field like this, that's the silver bullet strategy that you really want to have against it. And for Dog, he's brought this kind of greedy-looking Freeze Mage deck that so far has performed fantastically for him, but it's clutch time now. We're looking at, after this round, there are 2 rounds remaining, and so Dog needs to win a couple of those to guarantee himself that top 8 spot, and right now he's down a game.
Yeah, I think he has some pretty good tools to turn this around. His mage deck seems to be fairly decent in the mirror, obviously with the Doomsayer and the Frost Novas being very, very versatile in this matchup, I'm finding, with being able to lock out the early game against the Mana Cyclone mages with the Doomsayer, and also just being able to buy himself more time later on in the game with the use of Frost Nova.
Dog is on his tertiary deck going into game number 3.
Wow, interesting.
So he adds in a couple cards that make an impact, puts a Doomsayer out of the mix. Some of the cards that you anticipate being a little bit weaker. And the funny thing to me is the Deranged Doctor that gets added at the 8-drop slot. Deranged Doctor, Darroch. Deranged Doctor.
It makes some amount of sense with the deck. I also had the same reaction when I first saw it.
Okay, I'm getting word that that may not be the correct case. I'm getting word this may be primary.
Okay, I've got to be honest, I would be fairly surprised if he switched over to his tertiary deck, which doesn't seem especially equipped to be fighting back against the mirror.
His first and second decks both have Rabble Bouncers in them, though. And that tells me that he would actually want to be switching over to tertiary. So I've been curious about this. It's just, I just wanted to point out that Deranged Doctor's in his deck lists anywhere.
Well, he's got Arcane Dynamo in there as well. When was the last time you saw that card?
6 mana 3/4, discover a spell that costs 5 or more.
Yep.
What a wacky card.
Such a weird card. I mean, in the right decks, it can be incredibly powerful if you're looking for very specific cards.
Yeah, but how many decks can just play a 6 mana 3/4? Honestly, it's like literally this one that can afford to do it sometimes, because occasionally it gets discounted by Luna's Pocket Galaxy.
I remember, I think the last time I was seeing that card was in like the Shaman decks where you could pretty much guarantee yourself a Bloodlust.
Oh yeah, I remember that Shaman Arena deck that I drafted. Yeah, had that Arcane Dynamo in there.
All right, Nathan. Well, I was just trying to have a conversation. But yes, I agree. There's a reason why you don't see it all too much. But for Dog, clearly at an 8-1 record, his decks are working well. But it's interesting to point out that I believe Dog was saying he personally does not like his secondary or tertiary decks very much. He likes the idea behind his deck with going for a much greedier anti-warrior mage, but thinks that his side deck tech decisions could be a lot stronger, which seems to be fairly indicative of Dog's play in Grandmasters as well, where his play is obviously pretty much always very, very on point, and his overall deck building is good. But the little bit of polish that goes on these deck lists with the tech cards that go in your secondary or tertiary, I think is the weakest aspect of his play at the moment.
Rips the Pocket Galaxy.
Oh, yes.
You know, I was genuinely looking at Doomsayer and seeing how it possibly disrupted this turn. But I think any way you slice it, you're going to end up playing Luna's Pocket Galaxy and then running into Mountain Giant.
Yeah. I think he's got a reasonable shot of clearing up with the Doomsayer with a couple of Ray of Frost as well. I don't think that's ridiculous to assume. Obviously, there is the Conjurer's Calling from posesi, but if Dog is thinking, you know, if he has to use a Conjurer's Calling on my Doomsayer rather than on his Giant, I don't think he's all too sad about that.
Talking a bit about posesi, Japanese Hearthstone player. I believe had a strong WESG performance.
Ah, okay.
A top 4 at WESG.
The name definitely rings a bell. I was trying to remember where I've heard of it.
I know that I've seen the name a lot before. You know, obviously when players don't live in my country and I don't speak to them, it is a bit more difficult to follow 3 regions in totality. Yes. But I can attest to the fact that I know I've seen this name crop up in tournaments at the top ends a few times here and there, and then also typically a standing that I recognize from playoff as just being a strong contender in the mix there.
And that is just what's so fantastic about Masters Tour in general. In Las Vegas here, we are getting to see so many of these players that we don't interact with all that much due to geography or language barriers. But now getting to hang out with them, getting a good look at their style of Hearthstone play, it's a lot of fun.
How to kill this Doomsayer.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a few options. I think we could see a double banana, double Ray of Frost play with a ping.
Double banana, double Ray of Frost. That is an option.
Would have worked. This makes a little bit more sense though, because Ray of Frost is a pretty premium card in this matchup.
Yeah. Also utilizes Conjurer's Callings instead of no Conjurer Callings this turn. Well, I guess you would have been able to Conjurer's Callings still. Anyway, Bandits is F3.
It's close actually.
It is kind of close. That's an interesting turn.
Like, this is better in case he top decks Mana Cyclone, because it keeps more cards in hand to get a bigger Mana Cyclone.
That's a very good point.
It's also bigger just in case he gets another Mountain Giant. But that was really close, actually, I think.
1 mana Arcane Keysmith is good.
Yes, I would play that card.
Dog's got to cook something up here because he is under some heat.
You've got to be really careful with playing Arcane Keysmith, because often, in some situations, you don't pick the spell that is best in this scenario, or the secret that's best in this scenario, because your opponent will play around that anyway. So you want to catch them off guard when they're testing for the best secret.
Yeah, like what does a secret mean for my opponent's sequencing? Which secret is best in that scenario?
Exactly.
So leveling war.
Even if he had the option for, well, even with the Vaporize here, Vaporize is maybe his best option. Maybe it's not actually because of the small minions.
I kind of like it though, because I think he anticipates clearing those off, right?
Yeah.
Oh. Oh. This is interesting. So he's anticipating that the ping here will encourage posesi to check by attacking the Arcane Keysmith here.
Oh, that's true. Yep.
Whoa.
And this doesn't demonstrate a Vaporize, because I'm wondering...
It actually tells the exact opposite of a Vaporize.
Yeah. And I believe he picked the Splitting Image as the choice.
What to do? What to do?
How sick would it be if he got posesi to double trade here and actually picked Vaporize as the secret?
That would be pretty good too.
Like, that is actually like some...
Well, that's what I mean. You pick the ones that aren't the best because your opponent doesn't expect it.
I can't even imagine how sick that would be. Like, I actually would probably lose it. I didn't see what secret he picked because I was looking at you and I was thinking about all the conversation there.
I think it was the Splitting Image. Yeah.
Dang it! I really wanted it to be Vaporized because I was going to pop off. Isn't that a technical missequence here for posesi as well, or does he want to leave a 2-drop in the face of Conjurer's Calling?
That's pretty much the only reason I can think of why you wouldn't trade there. It's a pretty big difference though, actually. If your opponent does have Conjurer's Calling here, the difference between 2 4-drops and 2 2-drops could be massive.
It's a lot of average stats.
And I think the difference between a 2-3 and a 2-2 is pretty minimal, so I think this is the correct way to do it. And there we go, splitting images on both sides.
Precision. Perfection.
This is troublesome for Dog. Just has to build more tension in the face of this. And I feel like this game may have gone south because posesi, when you see a turn like that, you're rearing and ready to go. And you add another Frost Nova to this hand, and I think the aggressive potential is here for posesi to push.
And so for Dog, it's pretty much going to be relying on the power that Luna's Pocket Galaxy affords you, I think, to have any chance in this game. If he can pick himself up a Mountain Giant, or what else has he got at the top of the deck? Caligos, maybe?
Just a ping as well from Posesi. He says, go ahead, kill my minion. I don't care. So we're getting close to Archmage Frostnova. I'm curious if that could change anything in the game, but I think Posesi's just building too big of a board.
It gets rough for Dog as well because he doesn't have the as much spell generation in the deck, so his ability to generate more Frostnovas is pretty much zero.
Unity, precision, perfection.
And I think he's come to a similar conclusion as you. Archmage Antonidas plus Frostnova is probably my win condition. And if it's going to work, he needs both Frostnovas.
Yeah.
I like this play.
I think this is a technical way to get back in the game. You know, there's 2 Blizzards in the deck for Dog as well.
Good point.
And so you look at the draws that are impactful here. I did get word, by the way, that he was on primary deck.
Right.
So apologies for that one. Information overload. Looking at Caligos being a pretty massive pickup for Dog. Looking at 2 Blizzards being a massive pickup. And I believe Mountain Giants probably still get the job done. They would be 0 cost due to they're set to 1 and then the reduction takes place. So you would get to Antonidas, Mountain Giant, and Frostnova in that same turn. So I think that Dog has some power draws here. I think
he has a chance.
I think in the grand scheme of things, it's exactly 5 cards right now.
And the thing is here for Posesi, or for Dog, sorry, is that the one card that puts him in a good spot here is Archmage Antonidas because of the Frostnovas that Posesi has. Freezing the Archmage just not do enough.
Posesi's beating down the door and hang on to all these spells to make sure that he can get a big turn. You know what? Rabble Bouncer's something at least.
It's not bad at all. Could give him that 1 extra turn he needs, but more likely, I don't know, it's just something to throw on board while you're generating these fireballs.
Seriously though, it could be the difference. Add a Sea Giant to that. And Posesi, he is 5 more pings away from getting it done because I anticipate a lot of turns of freezes being thrown back and forth here.
Is the Frostnova crucial there?
I don't want my opponent to attack.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. You are afraid of the damage coming through
That's
space.
a dead draw.
It gives him something to smooth out his mana, right? If you can go Frostnova, Fireball, Acidic Swamp Ooze Ping.
Yeah, that's just, you need a better turn than that.
He does.
I think that with Posesi out of freezes and the extra body on board to attack Mirror Image, you know, in this context it is relevant. But Dog, I don't think has the liberty of you know, launching an assault with fireballs right now. It's cleanup work for Archmage, but this Archmage is doing work.
So if he goes face, he just never gets there, does he? Even if there's no freezes, because he has to clear up both the taunts next turn as well.
Hero Power the Ziliax in anticipation of Hero Power again next turn.
That's smart.
You got to figure out where this fireball goes.
He just needs to decide, can he ever actually clear the board if he goes for the fireball clearing each turn?
So I do think he is considering what all the minions look like. I think you do think about the Sorcerer Apprentice, but Posesi just hasn't done so much in so long. And so the exact play around your intention would be there is Mana Cyclone. If Posesi doesn't draw Mana Cyclone, that Sorcerer Apprentice is effectively doing nothing right now. So
I like this.
I think it's just biggest minion.
I absolutely agree. And it means next turn, with all these fireballs, he may be able to get himself in a position where he could clear this all up. Or at the very least, enter a parity on board state and try and pull things back from there.
Or just with a taunt in place to give you more time to do it. And so for Posesi, how does he chip away those last few points of damage?
Yeah.
Because this turned in from what looked like a blowout victory into Dog alongside Luna's Pocket Galaxy, you know, having some chances to get a big draw and win this game.
I mean, very possibly if he can clear the board, just Alex Straza and a few fireballs will just close things out.
Yeah, I mean, Alex Straza, I think, likely needs to be reserved for a defensive measure this game. You know, you're just running out of life.
It's possible.
But right now, Posesi throws in 2 more freezes and says, you've got to have something.
So
Dog cannot clear everything this turn.
Rabble Bouncer into the Ziliax, Fireball and Ooze into the Grave Horror. He's still dead.
And Posesi's thinking exactly about what if Dog draws Blizzard in this spot? What if he has Blizzard in this spot and he's been holding it? This Mirror Image would be thrown away if you did that.
Yeah, I think
Big draw step. Well, go digging.
Trade Fireball, Fireball. Yeah, he just has to, right? There's no, like, the Fireball and Ping is one off being able to clear the Giant.
So what would the play, I think, would be attack the Ziliax, double Fireball Grave Harbor, use the 2/7 to pick off the Sorcerer's Apprentice, and you have a 2/4 taunt in the way.
Right.
For me, wow, he's actually just going to go with the face-up play. It makes sense because Posesi's turns have been so weak, but I feel like if I'm in Dog's spot, is this going to win the game? And I guess it does. I mean, Posesi has to be out of resources pretty soon, too.
I mean, yeah, he can stay alive with the taunt, whether he goes double Fireball. I mean, it works out pretty much the same no matter how he slices it.
Looking at Posesi's deck right now, there's
not much.
There's no actual direct damage. There's Archmage Antonidas in here. There's Magic Trick that you can fetch, and it's Mana Cyclone. But there's no way for him to actually deliver lethal damage in this next situation. I don't think
it's Conjurer's Calling. I think on the opposing Rabble Bouncer to connect the Giant.
Yeah,
I think that's his only out of killing immediately, and of course Mana Cyclone.
So the Rabble Bouncer actually coming up big. Conjurer's Calling. No, not like this. This game was so beautiful. I wanted you to win with some weird outcome.
Oh, he got the Giggling Inventor, but it doesn't summon the taunts.
Posesi just pinging away turn after turn. Threatens so much with just a 3-2 in play that Dog he can't take the risk there. He says this is the better one, which is Fireballs, and that opened up one additional out with Conjurer's Calling.
I think that was such a nicely played game for Dog there, and I think the really crucial turn for me was the fact that he saved the Frost Nova for one extra turn and instead went with the Frost Bolts on the Giant the turn before he went Antonidas, because he realizes sticking this Antonidas is his win condition. It's pretty much his only chance to take this game back. And so by saving those Frost Novas to push Fireball's face and freeze the board turn after turn was, I think, such a gorgeous recognition of the point he was at in the game. Didn't work out for him there, unfortunately, but it gave him a really good shot of taking it.
Yeah, Posesi moves Dog to an 8-2 match score by taking this particular match by a score of 2-0, which moves Posesi up to 8-2. So at the very top end peak now, we're starting to see some evening out. Dog could not maintain the undefeated streak that was there. Eventually those losses are going to come, and the competition just gets tougher and tougher as you move through the field. I imagine he's been preying on Mage quite a bit in this one, and just a stock list of all the threats for Posesi, enough to push him over the edge.
It's crazy to think that Dog could potentially not get through to the top 8 in the worst case scenario, even despite his ridiculously strong start here in Masters Tour Las Vegas.
And